everybody, and welcome to another episode of Fishing with Fergy. Today, something different again. We're not out fishing today, although I'm here at Beau Morris overlooking beautiful Port Phillip Bay. It's a sheet of glass, I should be out there fishing. But today, I've got a special guest. I've got Ben Scullin from VrFish. Welcome, Ben.
Thanks, mate.
Today, we're going to talk to you about VrFish, who they are, what they do for our industry. And you'll probably be like me. Up until a few weeks ago, I was a bit blasé about VrFish. Probably didn't take them serious, didn't understand that they actually do have our best interests at heart and what they actually do for the fishing industry. So I hope you enjoy this show. Stay tuned. You're going to learn a bit here tonight. Who is Ben Scullin?
All right, well, professionally I'm the executive officer of the Victorian Recreational Fishing Peak Body, but I'm also a rec fisher.
Good.
I grew up just up the road here at Black Rock on the shore of Port Phillip Bay as a little tacker, chasing garfish and watching the big guys, my dad and my grandpa and my uncles coming back with big snapper and not being able to go out in the rough water until I was old enough,
So you do fish, mate. You're not stuck in an office. You're not just a politician. You're not a politician for a start, but you actually do fish.
I do, yeah. So in my real life, I'm a fairly accomplished lure tournament angler. So I've got a Cod Nationals under my belt.
Nice.
I've fished the ABT series for a long time. I mean, brim is something I still like to fish for.
They're bait fish, aren't they, Ben?
Well, it's whatever floats your boat.
It is, mate. There's all types of fishing.
I ended up, pretty much fishing's driven my whole life in both study. I ended up down in Warrnambool studying aquatic science on the Hopkins. Didn't get too much studying done.
Yeah.
But and was introduced to a fish that apparently you could only catch at midnight on a black cricket under a bubble float, the estuary perch.
Yeah.
And of course we were targeting brim by that stage, full time on lures, and we were catching estuary perch in the middle of the day, saying, hey, what's going on here? But and I know some of the East Coast guys were already well ahead of us on estuary perch on lure back then. But that's where I've come from. I even studied some rapid bio-assessment in Uni of Canberra.
So you've got a scientific background.
Yeah, mate. Well, fishing.
Yep.
And rapid bio-assessment is just how to use a net to catch mud eyes.
Yeah.
Bait. So.
That's exactly what I grew up doing. My first lot of fish was trout, and it was mud eyes under a float.
Yeah. That's what I still like doing. But and then. I was in catchment health, looking at river health, and about early 2000s I decided to change career. I saw a job ad in the paper that said, "Do you love fishing?" And it was
yes.
And I said, "Well, yes, of course I do." But it was for a group or an organisation called the Recreational Fishing Peak Body, the Victorian Recreational Fishing Peak Body, and I didn't know anything about them. So I applied and got the job as a wide-eyed project officer, and I think the first week I was there, Parks Victoria put out a management plan to ban fishing on the Werribee River.
Oh yeah, good.
Yeah, so that was my, cutting my teeth on advocacy. And after a career in the boating industry and overseas, I worked in the tackle manufacturing industry overseas for a while, came back, went to the boating industry again, and then went back to VrFish, and they dobbed me in for executive officer, and now I don't go fishing, I just make sure everyone else does.
Well, that's good. So that's a big thing to keep in mind. We've got somebody actually who's leading the charge, who has fishing at your roots, understands what we go through, and he's passionate because he wants to keep fishing. You want your kids to fish, you want grandkids to fish.
That's it.
So if there is something that needs to be fought hard, Ben's got the interest there. That's awesome, Ben. So it's good to know we've got somebody at the helm who's actually a fisherman. So Ben, what is your actual day-to-day job at VrFish? Is it VrFish or is it VrFish?
It can be any and or.
Whatever we want it to be.
You can even say the long version as well, Victorian Recreational Fishing Peak Body.
I'm not that smart.
I say VrFish.
Yep.
Ultimately, so I'm the executive officer, and it's kind of like a CEO without the C.
Yep.
But but realistically, there's a governance function. So
Without the pay packet too.
Wow, yeah, don't get me started on that. Ultimately, there's an executive function, so I support the board of VrFish. So we've got a board of 9 volunteers.
Yep.
So supporting the board in all the little things that make the board run. The secretariat function and making sure, the meetings are briefed and recorded, and there's business functions as well that have to be taken care of. Everything from paying the lights, the electricity bill through to ASIC requirements. And then there's the advocacy role, the representation and advocacy role. So I perform that as well, where, that's about making sure that anyone that's making a decision that could impact rec fishers, and if you think about, the regulator for fishing in Victoria is the Victorian Fisheries Authority, they make plenty of decisions that affect rec fishing, but they're not the only part of government that makes decisions that affect rec fishers. There's public land managed, by committees of management,
Yep.
the Environment Department, they make decisions that affect us. So making sure that when there's a decision about to be made, that the decision maker has enough information to take us into account and take us seriously. That's the base level of my job.
Cool.
And then the trick is when they make a decision without consulting you, or
To fight like hell.
or ignore you, and you want to reverse or get a better outcome than that. And that's a real trick, that one. That's you try and change someone's mind on a decision they've already made.
Then you've got to play politics and you've got to educate
You can,
them.
yeah. Well, you gear it up, and depends. If it's a minister making a decision, that can be pretty difficult to change.
And those ministers quite often have an agenda.
They can. There can be a political agenda. The animal welfare stuff's a political agenda. So that sometimes that's come hell or high water, they're going to push stuff through. But realistically, if you make the point that hey, there's over 1 million Victorians that go fishing. Here's the economic impact. We're delivering a $3 billion direct expenditure outcome for Victoria.
$3 billion.
Bigger than dairy.
So hang on. So recreational fishing is bigger than the dairy industry.
The contribution is, yeah. So
I think they need to remember that one.
Well, that opens a few eyes in when you talk to some decision makers, and then there's the health and well-being aspects. The social. You look at the guys on the pier there. They're having the best day of their life.
You get a 15-year-old kid who's studying or he's doing his VCE at 17, 18, and he's totally stressed, and what our youth go through these days is horrendous. I'd hate to be a teenager again. But they go and sit on the pier out here, like the beautiful pier out the front here at the yacht club, right?
Therapy, yeah.
You sit out there, mate, and forget about the world, hey?
Yeah, that's it. So my job, I just spend more time behind a desk now than actually fishing, which is bad for street cred. You've got to have a bit of street cred. Yeah. But when I get out, I still manage to...
And that's why, Ben, I wanted to shoot this show.
Yeah.
There's that key thing you said, street cred. VrFish has probably lacked some street cred that people just don't understand.
Sure.
They see a decision that's not in their favour. Oh, it's bloody VrFish's fault.
They let it through, yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it. So what does VrFish actually do for fishermen, Ben?
Righto. So ultimately, way back in 1995, the minister of the day decided that instead of 50 different groups trying to have a say, there should be one peak body. And that was how VrFish was formed. And it was out of 19, what we call foundation members. So a whole range: Game Fishing Association of Victoria, Scuba Divers Federation of Victoria, Albert Park Yachting and Angling Club, Bowie, Motor Yacht Squadron. It's a whole group of foundation members that got together and formed an independent peak body, independent of government. So you think government will always look after you with decisions, and it's something we take for granted, and sometimes they don't, But what VrFish's real role is to be the subject experts in rec fishing. So it doesn't matter if you fish for garfish off Bowie Pier or the Highlands for trout, or if there's a decision being made, we can provide expert advice very, very quickly on, hey, this is going to impact us and how, and what the negative impact from that decision will be. And that's ultimately VrFish's skill. So for instance, VFA come to us and recently and said, we're thinking about opening year-round cod fisheries in a number of reservoirs, like Eildon and Rocklands are.
If they're stocked.
If they're stocked. So we said, all right, well, we'll go out and very quickly get a statistically significant sample of wrecked fishes and we'll ask them, here's a list of stocked waters from the last 20 years. Which ones do you prefer to be open year-round?
And so for you to be able to do that, Ben, you need wrecked fishers to be members of VrFish.
Well, we also, so the way it works is VrFish is funded out of a proportion of your licence fee. So every 1 year fishing licence, technically we get $1.70. So VrFish, if you looked at our organisational structure, there's me and 2 other staff. There's a board of 9 volunteers. So it's about 1.6 staff under me. So we've got a small core of professional staff. We keep the lights on. That's what your $1.70 pays for. And then we've got a volunteer board of 9. All of the foundation members and our club members supply delegates. And what a delegate does is provide expertise regionally. So if something's impacting down here, or a chuka, we've got members that live there. And the thing about fishing clubs is that they're the most active. You know, they're organised wreck fishing. So they'll be across, they'll see issues as well and bring them in. And then they'll also consider when the VrFish board needs a position on something. So the minister's office might ring and say, hey, the minister's considering something. What's your position on this? And we have to be very quickly able to say, the bloke on the pier thinks this, the clubs think this, VrFish thinks this, and there's the spectrum of advice.
Straight in.
You know, and to do it very quickly. So we had 1,100, 1,200 respondents to the cod survey that we then package for fisheries and say, here's the advice from no, don't do it, through to, here are the 3 lakes we want.
Yep, good, that's awesome. Well, that's pretty cool. That gives you an idea what VrFish does. Thank you very much. After the break, we'll go into a bit more about delving into the depth of VrFish, I reckon, mate. We'll see how we go. So, Ben, you made a comment then about you get $1.70 from every licence fee to fund VrFish. I know we've got a lot of fishermen, but geez, it sounds like a small amount of money.
Well, it can be.
Must be stretched.
We're run on the sniff of an oily rag. We're a lean organisation, we'd say. We rely, like most member organisations, on volunteers and volunteer time and effort. But ultimately, you know, the wins that we achieve far outweigh we earn our money. Yeah, we certainly earn our dollars.
Something very interesting that I only found this out myself. Said I've been, like a lot of people, sitting back on the fence, just going fishing, not giving a rat's about VrFish and easy to whinge about them. But I found out the other week, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but you can only use the funding that you get to do your job every day of the week. But if there's a political issue out there with the animal welfare groups trying to stop us and all that stuff that's going on at the moment, you can't use any of that funding to get legal advice, etc. Correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So ultimately, there's a part of the Fisheries Act that talks about where your licence fees have to go into a trust account, and it also then puts a minister in charge of making decisions on how that money's spent. So while we're an independent peak body, we're not part of government. We're, you know, clubs and volunteers and wreck fishers as members. What happens is you have to have a contract with the state government for the minister to be able to
sign off on the spending.
Right. So, and that contract can box you in a little bit. And one of the things it does preclude is spending money, RFL money,
to fight the government.
Well, no, it definitely says that, right? Yeah. You can't use it to smash, you know, the current government. And that's cool. That's fair enough, because, you know, there's ways around that. But ultimately, the animal welfare law, the new law pops up, and we can't go and spend RFL fees getting a lawyer to tell us how many holes in this and where are they going to come at us. So it makes, another big threat will be the bluefin tuna at the Commonwealth level, and that's what we thought was going to be a big hit. So we introduced a new membership for that.
And see, I didn't know about that, and I only found out about this about probably 3 weeks ago, and I'll tell you, I couldn't pay my membership quick enough. there's actually you can be a membership. So you can be a member of VrFish, and $25 a year, Ben.
Yeah, 25.
So a block of pillies, a 2 kilo block of pillies will cost you $25 these days. That I chop up and throw overboard to try and get a snapper to bite. So for the cost of a block of pillies, I'm now a member of VrFish. So knowing that $25 that I put in there every year helps you guys then go and get advice to stop these animal liberation groups that are funded, mate. Those guys, like when you get the PETA group and stuff like that involved.
Yeah, Animals Australia had a $15 million war chest last year.
15 million bucks.
So they're most likely to use this legislation to go after a game fishing tournament the night before with a
court injunction. Yeah.
So and VrFish, I mean, I'll be in there trying to argue the toss, but you'd probably prefer, a QC.
100%. So you imagine Ben going in there, even with his qualifications, turning up there, and the animal liberation groups, they walk in with 3 QCs.
Yeah, they'll wipe the floor with us. So.
100%. And so keep that in mind when you get out there. The cost of living at the moment, it's high for everybody. There's no ifs or buts about that. But if you've got to spare $25, so what's that, 50 cents a week, become a member of VrFish. Just go on the VrFish website, become a member. It took me about 30 seconds to pay. And just become a member. Give them some funds to be able to fight on our behalf is the way I look at that. It's a pretty cheap contribution.
It's a good... Well, so we have a number of memberships. We have a free membership.
Yep.
And the benefit of that is that you get an email. It doesn't sound very exciting.
You get a newsletter.
For your $1.70, but your newsletter is going to tell you what we're fighting at the moment. And ultimately then, it's also one of the ways, very rarely will VrFish call for help from wreck fishers. Your job's to go fishing, our job's to protect you, to be able to do that and not worry about this stuff. We'll beat most things before just by having good relationships with government and just by making sure they know what we're worth and what we do. And every now and again there'll be a fire on the horizon that we'll see through our network. We'll be informed, we'll go and fix it, you won't even know.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be for your $1.70. But if you know what's going on, especially if it's in your area, one of the great obligations in fishing now is that you do need to defend what you do. You do need to be mindful that there are people who are spending time and money and trying to stop you doing this now.
And the bit that does my head in, Ben, that most of these greens groups, they don't realise that 99% of anglers are actually some of the best conservationists out there. We're all conservation. If I'm on the water and I'm driving along and I see some rubbish in the water, I turn around and go back and pick it up. Yeah. If I see someone doing the wrong thing at the ramp, throwing rubbish in the water, I'm, hey, dickhead, pick that up,
Yeah. No, it's something we're not given credit for a lot.
Yeah.
National Wreck Fishing Survey that came out last year showed over 70% of wreck fishers in Australia are reporting they always pick up someone else's litter when they go fishing.
So there you go. So that's a quick overview on how VrFish is actually funded. Your $1.70 out of your fishing licence. We've got a lot of fishermen, it does add up. But go and look into it, become just a free member of the moment. Get a few newsletters and see what you're actually getting. And then if you think you got $25 spare one day, don't go to the pub and have a couple of schooners. But join VrFish and give these guys the tools they need to fight on our behalf. So I've got a lot out of today so far, and I hope everyone's got a lot from this so far. Ben, we've just spoken about the issues that are facing us as anglers. What can we as anglers do to assist you in this fight to keep our bloody recreation going?
Well, ultimately, wreck fishing's changed to how it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and you can't just go fishing, and not care about anything anymore. So I like to think of it as there's two great obligations on wreck fishers now. One is not to destroy the joint.
Yep.
And that's a pretty easy one because we're all in, we're the eyes and ears of the environment and we look after it because we know healthy environments, better fishing. And then the second one is to have a say. If you're aware of an issue, VrFish, get onto us. Call me. Email, Facebook, and be prepared to have a say. That's
you're happy to hear from anglers, aren't you?
I want to hear from anglers.
Because then you can go to the Parliament and go, my phone's ringing off its head. Look here, I've got probably an email is better than a phone call because you can go, I have got 3,000 emails.
Yep.
On this issue.
That really helps.
There's an instant petition, a phone call, a Facebook message is good, but you know what? I think email. So if Ben he can just literally sort it by subject line. If you've got 3,000 emails for the same subject, they're going to listen to you, aren't they?
Oh yeah, no, and it also then helps me justify. I mean, ultimately, I'm an employee. I have to justify why I choose what I choose to work on.
Yep.
And issues of the day are something that's very important to document.
So I would think the biggest things anglers can do, apart from we're already doing 98% of us are doing the right thing anyway. We're picking up rubbish. We're being proactive. I would say the ways that if I was going to pick a hot list, pay $25 a year, become a member, or become a voluntary member as well. Whatever suits your budget, go and do that for a start. Send through emails if you think there is an issue. But there's one that's dear to my heart a bit too, Ben, is let's be conscious of what we do on social media as fishermen and clubs. The days of hanging a fish off a gantry just for a hero shot, unbled, ungutted. If you get 150 kilo tuna, you're right to weigh it in 100%. But I'm going to put the call out right here and now on film. I would love to see all clubs and tackle shops that do the weigh-ins to have a simple rule. If it isn't bled and it isn't gutted, we're not going to weigh it in for you because it gives us a bad look. If you want to know how much that fish actually weighed, bring the guts in a bucket and weigh the guts separately. Because Ben, you agree, our social media, we can be our worst enemy.
Yeah, we can. Ultimately, the blood-shots and the
100 fish poured on the deck of your boat, shots.
There can be some, those opposed are looking for ammo every day.
And I can guarantee you, if I went out there fishing, I'm going fishing tomorrow, it's going to be beautiful again tomorrow, we're chasing whiting and squid. You won't see me tip 50 or 60 whiting on the floor of my boat and 20 squid thrown around it, because I can pretty much guarantee that a greens group somewhere is grabbing that shot.
Well, the thing about social media is that you're not just sharing it with rec fishers.
No.
You're sharing it with people that don't fish, and you're also sharing it with people that don't like fishing.
And I can guarantee every group that you're in, mate, I can guarantee on my followers list on my Fishing with Fergy page, there's going to be some people in there that are greens groups that are following my page.
Oh, sure. Collecting evidence.
So I'm just saying, hold up, have a great day. We get a bag of, if we go tomorrow, there's me and a couple of mates going, if we got 20, 30 squid, hey, we're going to enjoy the feed and the bait. You'll see us put up a couple of pictures that'll be the fish of the day. Ben would hold up a fish, I'll hold up a fish and say, we had a cracking day. I can even say, hey, we bagged out, but I'm not going to show 30 fish untastefully dumped on the floor of my boat either. So just let's think about what we do as anglers. We are portraying some pretty bad images out there some days. You've done nothing wrong taking your bag limit. I believe we have the best managed fishery in the world.
We're doing all right.
We are doing all right. We have it's a great pastime. It's a bloody expensive pastime. So going out there, if the law says you can take 3 of that fish or 5 of that fish of the day and you wish to do that, that's nothing wrong with that. If you want to take home your couple of gummies every time you go out because it tastes great, don't feel bad about it, but let's be tasteful and think about the pictures that we put out there, because I think that is the way anglers can help you, isn't it?
Well, ultimately being a little bit artistic, in the photography, if you will. But
hey, we're all photographers.
Yeah, no, I think ultimately we do need to start. I mean, I'm guilty. I've got photos on my Facebook of the St Leonard's seafood basket.
Yep.
Being held up. So, it's just one of those things we do need to be cognizant of now and be a little bit more artistic. And there's nothing wrong, as you said, with taking a bag, but why not also show the plate?
Show
what we're actually doing.
Yeah.
Save the real kill pics for just on the phone to the mates.
Yeah. So it's a good point Ben's made, and I've done it on a couple of shows in last season. It was really well accepted. I've gone out, caught the gummy, then showed it on the plate. I've got a good friend of mine, following my page there, Dorian. I will give him tuna. And you want to see the pictures of what he sends me pictures of the spread he puts out. You've seen his photos?
No, they're good.
Unbelievable. Show people that the people who are following us, the haters, they look at that photo and go, oh man, that made me hungry. I understand why these guys go out fishing.
They eat grass, mate.
They eat grass. Not all of them do, but show them that we're not animals. We're out there. Yeah, we take a feed for fish, we prepare it, and our family enjoy it, so I reckon that's a great...
That says you're not going to stop us more than anything else.
100%. So I hope this show has helped people understand more about what VrFish does.
Thanks, mate.
Ben is a busy man, but you know what, if you're part of an angling club, I'm sure Ben Would love the angling clubs to reach out, come on, give informative
Easy.
talks. You know, we're all there to work together. We are all anglers. Let's work together, because our pastime that we love, and mate, the money that we've invested, $200,000 boats or a $5,000 boat, the rods and reels that you own, it's all under threat, guys. I can tell you, if they ban fishing, my boat's worth nothing overnight, or my fishing gear's worth nothing overnight. So if you think of that, yeah, if someone came and tried to take away your investment of your house, you'd fight like hell. Yeah. Let's fight like hell for this. But Ben, I want to thank you for coming on Fishing with Fergy.
Thanks for having me.
Mate, really appreciate
Wonderful.
your time.
Cheers.
So make sure everyone go to vrfish.com.au. Is it .gov.au, mate?
.com.
So vrfish.com.au.
Yep.
Go in there, sign up to become a free member or
Yep.
a paid member if your budget allows you.
Yep.
Be informed. Let's stop spreading rumours and just know the actual facts. But thanks again, Ben.
You're welcome.
I hope everybody's enjoyed that tonight. Have a great day.